welcome to the Nucamp Open House. I am Ludo Faraj, Chief Executive and Learning Officer, and today I am joined by Zendra Kubota, who has been with us for quite a while now as first a Nucamp instructor, and now as well a Nucamp advisor, which means you may have been receiving her emails, and actually maybe some of you have had the chance to talk to Zendra already over the phone. So we're going to spend a full hour together. First, we're going to walk you through what Nucamp is about, what you can expect from our coding bootcamp. We're going to dive into the curriculum, the career prospects, and things like that. That's going to be for the first 30 minutes. And then after that, the last 30 minutes will be open Q&A. So we're going to look at our YouTube feed. We're going to look at our Facebook feed for any question that you want to ask. So you can start typing your questions now in YouTube, on Facebook. We're live there, and we'll get to them in about 30 minutes. All right, I hope that works for everyone. Let's get started. So obviously, the very first question you all wonder is, what is Nucamp? You probably have some idea. But we like to think that we are slightly different from other coding bootcamps that you may have researched. The very first point that we really cherish for our company is we are first and foremost socially driven. Our social mission is to help all aspiring career shifters in every community to enter the digital economy. And you'll hear more today. What do we mean by all career shifter in every community? The second point that you probably have noticed, maybe have questions about, is we are one of the most affordable coding bootcamp with a tuition that's less than $2,000. But we are also very local to your community. And we really also offer and care about providing very flexible options for every student. And we are also a part-time coding bootcamp, meaning evenings and weekend. You don't need to quit your job or anything like that. And then the last point, which has been evolving ever since our creation, is that we are now part of the top 4 coding bootcamps in the US. If you check out Course Report, which is a third-party coding bootcamp review website, you'll find us in the top 4, excluding other coding bootcamps that are not US-based, that are actually serving only internationally. And then if you look at those top 4, we are actually the #1 rated coding bootcamp in that top 4. Hold on a second. So yeah, with a 4.76 rating, which is the #1 rating that you will find across those 4. So that's very much in a nutshell. Now, what people often ask us is, how do you compare? Why should we go to Nucamp versus any other bootcamp? And so that's obviously a great question. I mean, it takes research and time to decide which bootcamp you want to join. And so we've prepared that comparison for you. It's a broad comparison, but you can imagine how that applies. So if you're in the market and searching for a coding bootcamp, you have probably evaluated online bootcamps. And most people really evaluate and consider joining online bootcamps because they really are interested in the flexibility that they provide, right? It's online. You can take the bootcamp from your house. Most of the time, you can do that part-time. There's no real deadline, meaning you can actually do the bootcamp in 3 months. You could do the bootcamp in a full year, which is great. And then most people are also very interested in the low cost. If you think about what Udacity or Udemy or Coursera or edX offer, you could just pay like $30 a month and go through an online experience. These are all great things, but of course, they come also with some negative aspect, which is typically people who start online realize very quickly that the lack of structure, the lack of commitment, the lack of timelines make it so that they actually never finish. And so they invest time and energy in the first few weeks or month and don't complete their journey. And so they realize that the lack of collaboration, the lack of networking, the lack of presence in person with someone, the lack of an instructor is really hurting their chances. And so great that it's flexible, that it's low cost, but ultimately many people, and actually 97% of students, realize that that's not going to help them achieve their goal. And so they turn to, I would say, the other extreme of the spectrum in terms of coding bootcamp, which are the traditional coding bootcamps. And by that, I mean traditional schools with a campus. You have to quit your job. Sometimes you have to commute to the location of the campus. Some people actually move their family to go to attend a school, coding bootcamp school. And the benefit is the top in-person coding bootcamps are going to provide a great experience. You're going to be fully immersed. You're going to be studying 10 hours a day, full time. And that's going to be, for most of the top ones, a great experience. Now, of course, just like the online option, it does come with some negatives or risks. Well, first, you have to live in a city where there is such a renowned and great in-person coding bootcamp, which typically, I mean, those coding bootcamps have campuses in the top 10, 15 cities. So you may not have one in your city. And then you may have to consider maybe commuting to that city. I mean, you may actually live 40 miles south or 40 miles away from that coding bootcamp. And then you'll have to really contemplate long commutes back and forth. And that's, of course, if you can afford two things. If you can afford to pay the high tuition, because that immersive experience comes at a much greater cost. And some people are considering taking loans and things like that. And then, of course, it's also if you can afford to quit your job. And that's a tough risk to take. Leaving your existing job, if you have one, to go on that journey and just fingers crossed it's going to work out. And 3-4 months later, you're going to be able to change your career. Now, it happens. Obviously, it does. But again, that's a tough level of risk to start your journey. And so that's really where Nucamp comes in, because the foundation of what we created 3 years ago really has been to look at what each of those options does really well, and then remove what they don't do so well to really create a unique experience that is Nucamp. So what do I mean by that? Well, it has the flexibility and the low cost of online bootcamps. So our tuition is less than $2,000. And we have payment plans, we have scholarships, we'll get to that in a minute, but you really can attend Nucamp without taking a huge financial risk. It's part-time and hybrid, meaning you don't have to quit your job. You can learn online during the week, but then you're going to get that level of structure and support throughout your experience with a classroom of 12 students and a dedicated instructor. And then on Saturday mornings, for 4 hours, you're going to meet with your instructor, assuming we can do it online, in person, and you're going to really collaborate with that group. So it's a very much immersive experience, just like you will find in the traditional boot camps, although not full-time. But you don't have to commute. You don't have, because it's in your city, you don't have to take on a big loan, and you get the level of support that you would expect. So that's very much what Nucamp is about. It's a new way of changing careers, a new way of learning to code, taking the best of the online world and the traditional world. So a little bit of history. We were created in 2017 in Washington State, in the city of Bellevue. We've expanded to the point that we've actually welcomed more than 2,000 students since that time. We've launched more than 250 bootcamps. We have 200 active instructors across the US delivering every month our bootcamps. And if you can think of it like that, it means that we have on any Saturday morning when we actually host our 4-hour workshop, 80 instructors delivering those workshops across the US. So you have some pictures here of the time where we were in person, obviously. And we're very proud that over those 3 years of existence, we've really accumulated a significant amount of very positive reviews from our students. I mentioned that earlier. You can go to Course Report, do Course Report Nucamp, and check it out for yourself. We just passed the 500 number of reviews, which is super exciting. Yes. And as I mentioned, we're in the top 4 and actually the best rated in the US as part of that top 4. Let me tell you a little bit about, the new normal, as we say. I mentioned that we have those Saturday workshops that are meant to be in person, and we've delivered those for the last 3 years until February, I will say, when COVID-19 hit. So what you should know is all our workshops that are on Saturday morning are now online, but the formula is the same. You meet with your instructor, you meet with 12 students, and you work on an assignment. We are planning to go back to in-person when the time is right, pretty much. And who knows when that's going to be. But we will be coming back to in-person. When we stopped our in-person operations, we were in 35 US cities in person. The rest were online. And we will be probably going back to those 35 and hopefully more delivering in-person experiences. Now, as I said, the experience during the week is online, so that doesn't change. Let me tell you a little bit about our 3 bootcamps. We are very focused on delivering a full stack, primarily a full stack web and mobile development experience or career path. But before getting there, we offer kind of a slow entry, especially if you're a beginner. So you could start with a 4 weeks web development bootcamp that will give you the foundations that you will need to then move on to either front end for 17 weeks or full stack for 22 weeks. We absolutely recommend that people who want to join the more advanced bootcamps have a prior experience in web development, meaning they need to know the fundamentals of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They can learn that on their own, totally fine, or they can attend our 4 weeks bootcamp to acquire that fundamental knowledge. And we also have a test online if you are interested to see if you're ready to move on to front-end and full stack. You can find it on our webpage. The FAQ page has that link. And of course, I will be remiss to not mention the tuition. The 4 weeks bootcamp is just $350 or $49. The 17 weeks bootcamp is only $1,372. And people wonder if it's just 1 month or no, that's it. That's the cost. That no additional cost, no books, no software, no nothing. That's the tuition, plain and simple. And then we have the 22 weeks bootcamp for only $1,765 for the whole duration of the bootcamp. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the experience. I mentioned that earlier, but as I said, from Sunday to Monday, it's going to be online. With or without COVID-19, we're always delivering the experience during the week online so that we can adapt to a flexible or provide a flexible schedule that will work for anyone who wants to stay employed, right? And we know that's super important for most of our students to be able to keep, the compensation that they get from their day job while attending the bootcamp. So you'll have video lectures, coding exercises, quiz and challenges. You're going to work on a project portfolio, and Zandra will talk to you about that a little bit. You're not alone during the week. You are still part of a classroom. you talk to your fellow classmates, you have access to your dedicated instructor during the week. Then on Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Local time where you live, you're going to meet live. That's going to be a live Zoom session with your classmates and your instructor. And you're going to really very much work on what we call a capstone moment for the week. You're going to apply everything that you've learned throughout that week and create an assignment that will be part of your project. So that's every Saturdays throughout the duration of the bootcamp. And sometimes we have a break, like one Saturday where you don't actually have to attend a workshop. And I'm seeing that people, you're starting to ask questions on YouTube. Great, we'll get to that in about 15 minutes now. I'm looking at our Facebook as well, so don't hesitate to ask questions on Facebook as well. We'll get to that in a minute. All right, or in 15 minutes, I should say. All right, so little bit of a showcase of where you were spending your time on Saturdays before COVID. Very pleasant places, typically co-working locations with whom we partner in all the cities. Again, it's an example of what we don't do right now, unfortunately, because of COVID. But like many of you, we are looking forward to get back to that mode of meeting people in person and collaborating in person on Saturdays. So that's kind of the type of location that you can expect to be in. Now, something that we really cherish and is critical to your success, as well as the quality of the experience, is the community of instructors that we've had the pleasure to recruit and are really your primary point of contact as you go through the bootcamp. You should know that you're going to be taught by not just one instructor, but typically 3 to 4 different instructors throughout your journey. And that's going to be very interesting because of one of the bullet points here, actually the last one, which talks about rich and diverse backgrounds. And I'll get to that in a minute, but you're going to really be exposed to a wide variety of profiles that are going to really help you figure out what kind of job you want to get out of the bootcamp. Let me first by describing who those instructors are. They are active industry practitioners. And that's very important because they didn't quit being a web developer to become a teacher. They are still web developers, software engineers, and they are still employed in the industry with that title and coding every day. Because we're flexible and part-time, they have the opportunity to teach with Nucamp as on the side, as a side job. And so they really blend together teaching and caring about helping people in their community with being active in the industry, employed in the industry, coding every day. And that's critical because that's going to bring a wealth of knowledge, insight, experience into your own city community that you will not otherwise get necessarily if that person had been a teacher for the last 5 years, for example. So that's not the case for us. As I mentioned, they are local to your community. So everywhere in the US where we advertise our coding bootcamp, we are also recruiting local instructors to teach. Now, if you're joining online, which is the case with COVID, you may have a local instructor or you may have a regional instructor. So maybe in Texas, you're going to have an instructor from Texas, not necessarily maybe from Dallas or Austin, but we also always try to actually match that. So if we find that there are like 6 students from Austin, Texas, we're going to assign an instructor from Austin, Texas to really keep that level of proximity, I would say, in terms of experiences. And so why are they doing that as well? I mean, they have a day job. Most likely they have a good pay. Why are they doing it? Well, they are joining Nucamp not because of the incremental pay, because honestly, given our tuition rate, we're not capable of creating a great incentive for them to join just because of the pay. It's not like that. They are paid in a fair way. Yep. Uh, but they're really joining because they care about giving back. They are passionate about helping their community. They may remember the days where it was difficult for them to be a junior developer just starting. And so they want to help their local community. They want to help other aspiring developers. And we can see that and read that in the students' feedback forms, that's really the thing that they appreciate the most, is that level of empathy, that level of interest in really helping others, which makes a big difference. And then, as I said earlier, they are coming from rich and diverse backgrounds, which means they can be freelancers, and they'll be able to tell you what it means to be a freelance in this world. They can be employed in a startup, and they can tell you what it means to work in the startup world. They can be employed in big companies, big IT department companies, and they can also share with you how you get there. And so that's really the diversity of backgrounds and experience that you're going to be able to get a flavor of. Some of them have computer science degrees, and they can tell you what that means. Some of them may actually come from the coding bootcamp world, and they can tell you how they transition careers. So that's also something very, very special that they are capable of bringing to the table and really help you in your career transition. Now for the next slide, I'm going to ask Zendra to chime in. And we're going to hear from Zendra from now on the curriculum and what students can expect in even greater details. Off to you, Sandra.
All right, thanks very much, Ludo. I will try my best to follow it up as admirably as you did. So the curriculum for the next slide about JavaScript, we're getting into the meat of the program. JavaScript is definitely the language that you want to learn if you want to get into web development. There's absolutely no doubt about that. There are surveys done every year of what tools developers are using and languages in popularity, and JavaScript is number one, hands down, for the past few years in a row. As you can kind of see if you look at something like Stack Overflow or something, it's by a wide margin. And that's why we teach it at Nucamp, because it's what's in demand. So what can you expect when you graduate? That's the big question there in terms of salary remuneration. $70,000 is a good average for the country for a junior web developer. And we're not saying that's what you're going to get right off the bat as soon as you graduate, but it is an average, and it's going to probably be somewhere around there. Might be 60, might be 80, depending on what area you live in. And we have more information about that if you look at our blog. If you go to nucamp.co and you click on the blog, you can read an extensive article about becoming employed after the bootcamp. So I urge you to look at that. And I think that's about it. There's some other skills listed there on the slide in this technologies for web devs. You'll be learning some of that, and JavaScript. You will feel very comfortable with JavaScript by the time you graduate. And I think that's all I have to say on that slide there, Ludo. If you could take us to the next one.
Yeah,
The YouTube.
Yeah, you may want to follow on Zoom instead of YouTube or anything like that, because otherwise you're going to be
I'm getting
seeing a few seconds delay. There's a 10.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so to follow the slides on Zoom instead of YouTube. Go ahead.
Thanks. So, sorry, the curriculum for our fundamentals is the start of our boot camp. And this is the basic that you need to know for web dev. Your bones, your muscles and sinew, and your electrical activity, if you want to speak, throughout the body, and your skin and stuff. So HTML is the bones, CSS is going to be your skin and clothing, and the JavaScript is going to be your neurological, electrical juice and muscles that makes the site active and move and actually do things. So that's what you're going to learn in the first 4 weeks. And by the end of that, if you're a total beginner to coding, you will look back and have a lot of confidence and say, wow, I can't believe that my computer screen looks like the Matrix or something like that. You're going to really surprise yourself. And you'll be ready to join our front end or our full stack boot camps after that. And the beginning of the full stack boot camp is Bootstrap. A Bootstrap is a framework that was invented by Twitter, and it allows you to kind of use a shorthand CSS, which will uh, help you very quickly to lay out page uh, setups, page frameworks, and very quickly manipulate the elements on your pages in a way that will be responsive. If you see the word responsive there, it just means that the web page that you're building will respond to the size of the container that it's in, the display that it's in. So if you have a big web page on a big TV, it'll display one way with a huge image. And if you pull up that same web page on your phone, it will automatically resize the image or display an appropriate size image and flow the text instead of horizontally to a vertical format. That's what we call responsive. And Bootstrap is the number one, um, not framework. Oh, I forget the word, but I guess framework for CSS. And those are static sites. But Bootstrap, as lovely as it is kind of dumb and it doesn't know anything about form submission, or it doesn't know anything about get requests or anything like that. So you want to use something that's going to make your website not only responsive but dynamic, which means that it can change its state. So this is where React comes in, and React and JavaScript go together like peanut butter and jelly. And this is the class where things start to get a little more difficult, but at the same time, where your students are going to start seeing things open up and see those. I really see myself. I can see the end of the tunnel, so to speak. I think that's what I've heard the most of from the students. Um, uh, so React, kind of in a short way, it helps you build a dynamic website that lets the user interact more with the web app. And there are lots of other frameworks out there you might have seen on YouTube or something in your Udemy, Angular, or other things, but React is definitely one of the most popular, or the most popular. And it was created by Facebook. React Native, this is where you take that beautiful dynamic website that you just made, turn it into an app that you can post in the App Store or the Play Store, whatever app store you like, and actually build a mobile app. Um, that you're going to build a web-based app, and you'll have this in your portfolio that you'll be able to share with potential employers. And you're going to learn about Redux. I don't have anything to do with Redux, happily. It's a way of managing the state in your React apps. So you're gonna have a good fun with that. Um, and React Native helps you develop for both iOS and Android. So once you learn this, you'll be able to create apps that will run on both iOS and Android. So that's the beauty of React Native. And lastly, you're going to learn about the back end, which if you do decide to complete the full stack course, the extra 4 weeks, is gonna jam you full of knowledge about more about Node.js, in depth into Express and MongoDB. So you're gonna learn uh, how to manipulate or how to manipulate data on the back end, and also how to do more with logins. So when you log into a website, you have your user profile with your photo, your avatar, and you have your email address and your password. You're going to have authentication, and you're going to learn one of the most popular databases, which is MongoDB. And together, all these um, tools on your resume are going to make you a very attractive candidate at an entry level. So I think I've covered that fairly well, and we could go on to the next slide. So here we have our projects, and I mentioned this a little bit in the previous slide, and these are projects built by our graduates and our not only graduates but honor students. So when you are working through each course and building things, you're building also a portfolio, or kind of like a digital resume, because resumes are kind of becoming, I think they're becoming obsolete personally. But the portfolio is where you're actually going to shine and show a potential employer, hey, I can do this. I have already built this. And you have something that actually moves and works and is clickable. And we can view these at Nucamp's YouTube channel. And the link is there. And I think, Ludo, would you share with the students the YouTube channel with the projects?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. So let me actually show you our YouTube channel here. There's a ton of content there, playlist. But so if you click, if you look YouTube New Camp, you're gonna find first a recording of our previous open house if you're interested. You're gonna find our student testimonials, and then you're gonna find here all the student projects, and we keep adding to them, and they are great inspiration for you as a aspiring developer. But also a great proof point of what our students have been capable of doing right at the end of the bootcamp. So here it is, YouTube, New Camp Coding Bootcamp. You can find it, subscribe to it, and all that. So student project is here, right? And so we have several of those projects available. And as I said, every 5 weeks, we keep adding to it. That's it. Back to you, Zandra.
All right, sweet. So thanks very much. Okay, and now the bootcamp schedule. So you are here with us today because you're interested in this course, in this schedule. So you can see, if you go to nucamp.co in your community, in your region, you can see a list of courses that are coming up. And don't worry if the class is full. There are other options. There are other courses um, available, like duplicates, that you can see kind of here on this slide. You see there's 2 for September 28th. So don't worry if the course you like is full. Keep scrolling and you'll be able to select one that's open. And this is just a slide. This is just an image. This isn't the classes that are currently um, uh, in your area. Classes might still be open. So definitely go to nucamp.co and enter your region or your zip code, and what's full in your city will populate the calendar. And you don't want to miss the deadline for your early bird discount. So definitely take a look at that. For front end and full stack, it's coming up September 14th. I believe off the top of my head, it's September 20th if you're a total beginner and you're looking at the fundamentals course, which is coming up in October.
Yeah, that's correct.
And,
It's 7 days after. So September 21st, I think, will be for the web
okay,
development fundamentals.
cool. And we really encourage you to take advantage of the early bird discount. If you cannot, don't worry too much about it because it is still really very affordable. If you look at, I'm sure you folks have looked at other boot camps out there. So don't cry too much about it if you miss the early bird. And your class is guaranteed to start, right, Ludo? So I don't want to forget to say that.
Yes,
Scholarships.
actually, let me. Yes, it's guaranteed to
Mhm.
start. In the past, we would only start a class if we had more than 6 students, but we are able to achieve that pretty much all the time. So no matter where you register in which city, you will be guaranteed to start.
Nice. Thanks for clarifying. So some have asked me about scholarships on the phone. For those of you I've spoken to on the phone, hey. And we have a wonderful partnership now with Career Karma, Reskill America, and really helping people who have been really impacted adversely recently. There is some assistance available for you. So definitely go to the URL that's listed there. Go to nucamp.co and click on scholarships and read the details for yourself. We also have a high school graduate coding in this crazy times that we're living in. A lot of kids graduating high school are wondering what what to do next, and this is a very good next for them. Things could get a little bit worse economically down the road. We're seeing, this ripple effect from these shutdowns all around the world. So getting these skills in now where a high schooler is young, they can really increase their lifetime earnings by gaining experience even earlier than college. So you can recommend that to your friends and family. And I think the next slide. Great. Student testimonials. We love to hear from the student. We have sometimes they join us even here. I think there was a Helen that was joining in the Facebook, so shout out to Helen. And we have comments from Stacy here talking about how she needed the flexibility of the courses, where with a full-time boot camp, you really don't have that. When you have a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday boot camp, um, that flexibility just is not there. We have Micah here talking about the personable and knowledgeable instructors. Go, Micah, wherever you are in life. Um, and I'm not exhibiting the grace and eloquence right now, but I hope the personableness is coming through. And we see that all the time in the Nucamp Slack. If you are familiar with Slack app, where we have discussion channels, we really see that every single day on the Slack, that the instructors really respond, as Sergey here says, and are really committed to seeing the success of the students. I can personally attest to seeing that. Um, and yeah, please register with us and you can get inside that Slack and experience it for yourself. And I believe we've covered it well. Thank you. Oh, over to Ludo.
Yes, thank you, Zandra. Thank you so much for walking us through that. So obviously, throughout the journey of considering a career change, joining a coding bootcamp, and hopefully that will be new camp, um, you end up in a place where you actually have a new job. And so we wanted to share that with you as well. The best way really for us to communicate with you what kind of opportunities are out there, what can you expect after new camp, is just to check out our past students, past graduates on LinkedIn, the ones that are joining the alumni group. So if you go to LinkedIn and look up the alumni group, you'll have all our past students and you'll be able to see all the profiles, what they're doing today. You can message them, ask them questions. And we're actually going to get to that as well, getting your questions in like now, actually, like we are pretty much done with the slides. And so we are at this time going to transition to looking up your questions on YouTube as well as Facebook. And I know there are some questions around career changes, job placement rates, and things like that. So we'll get to that. Um, but I would say, Zandra, have you seen one that you would like to start with? And we're going to really alternate as much as we can. But go ahead, ask your questions on YouTube and Facebook, and we're going to really go through that and try to answer each one of them.
Well, I see that Ricardo Suarez on YouTube asked, is there a coupon for full stack web and mobile app? And hopefully, Ricardo, we just answered your question if you were listening about the early bird discount. So that is approximately 15% off, I believe, the full stack and front end. So it's also applying to the fundamentals course. So definitely sign up 2 weeks before. It's kind of like buying a plane ticket. The earlier you buy it, the lower the price. So jump in there.
That's right. That's right. So that's the best way to get a good price. I would say that sometimes we issue coupons to currently registered students. Not always, but sometimes we have kind of an incentive for students that have just registered to also bring in their friends. So maybe you have someone who registered and you can ask them. We have a referral code as well, which works as a coupon for you when you share it. And so I've seen actually those referral codes on some reviews. But you get $50 anytime someone is using your referral code to register. So it's not a benefit to the person who registers. It's a benefit to you who's sharing your referral code and invite someone to register. I'll take the next question from Sasi Rangaswamy. After the bootcamp, will you be able to help us start up with a real world project and support as well? So yes and no. I'll say yes in a way, because throughout the bootcamp, we really help you create your own project. And so you will be spending the 22 weeks learning to code on what we created as a learning project, but then at the same time, you're going to create your own project. And so obviously that will be the real world project that you may want to take to market, create a startup around. We actually have videos of students who have created a real world project and who have received feedback from other students saying, hey, you should actually make it a product, you should sell it. It's great, we love it. So we don't necessarily help you after the bootcamp to set up your startup. I mean, there's tons of resources online for you to do that, but we do get you ready with a real world project to help you implement that idea of yours to actually create a startup if you want to. Anything, Zandra, that you see that you would like to answer here?
I see with Deepa Davy asking on YouTube about, do we need U.S. work authorization to work with Nucamp? I'm not sure if she's asking about student visas or instructing, but for instructing, definitely.
Yes, for instructing, you're absolutely right. If you want to join as a student, you can always join our online bootcamps. So when you look up on nucamp.co, you'll be able to select either using your zip code, your US city, your closest city, or you're going to be able to pick an online region. So it's going to be Eastern, Pacific, Central. And any students who registers directly to the online region can actually attend the bootcamp from anywhere. So we've had people actually from Africa, we've had people from Canada registering that way and attending that way. You have to be aware that you are expected to attend the Saturday workshop from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the region that you select. So that would be 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time if you're registering in the Eastern region. So be mindful of that, depending on where you live. That may or may not be a good time for you to wake up and attend a 4-hour workshop.
Excellent. I will take one from Yegorich on YouTube. And I think I can take another one from Chris Pierce also. So Yegorich is asking, do you offer any help with careers? And Yegorich, yes, we do. We have a built-in to the full stack and front end courses, 6 weeks of course on career building, how to network, how to prepare for interviews, how to optimize your LinkedIn page and your resume for the industry. We also will set you up with a 1 month of LinkedIn Premium, which will help you with your job search very much. And of course, LinkedIn, I believe, gives you a free month already. So you're going to have 2 months of LinkedIn Premium. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ludo.
Yeah, no, that's
And,
correct. That's correct.
yeah.
Typically, yeah, yeah.
And also our Slack channel, as I mentioned, I think the Slack channel is probably one of the best values that you're getting because you're instantly expanding your network out from whoever you know, your circle, your family. Maybe you don't know anyone in tech or specifically in web development. With Nucamp's community, you are in touch with people all over the country, in different cities, working for different companies, and alumni are also working in different cities for different companies. Um, and those who are not even employed in the industry, they may be in a company that has a job opening that you are interested in, but maybe they're in a different department. So you really are going to have a lot of career help there. And then for Chris, I think that answers Chris's question, what type of networking do you have for graduates? Um, yes, you're going to be able to, as I mentioned, you're going to be able to network with so many people. And Yegorich, also you asked about graduates in their late 30s. So yes, there have been graduates in their 30s. I believe late 30s off the top of my head without any looking at people's personal information. But we have graduates of all ages and we have successful graduates of all ages. So don't let that be an obstacle to your
Absolutely.
learning.
Absolutely. I'll answer a question from Darius Culpepper on Facebook, but I think it has been asked as well on YouTube. And it's really about our job placement rate post-graduation and how do we help with that. I think you addressed how we help with that, Zandra, with the job placement services. But what is our job placement rate? And here, I'll have to say it's slightly different compared to the traditional coding bootcamps. Mainly because we looked at the data and about 70 to 80% of our students do not quit their jobs or do not have to quit their jobs when they are taking the bootcamp. So they are taking a bootcamp while being employed. And at the end of the bootcamp, they are still in that job. And it's a situation that they really appreciate because it really removes the risk. Imagine if those people had to quit their job to attend the bootcamp and then have the stress to really rush and get that job and get some money back into the account. So what's happening for them is they've graduated, they still have their job, and they're actually gradually moving into web development. They're not in a level of stress that tells them, hey, I have to change jobs tomorrow. And so they're telling us, we ask the question, what is your prospect of changing careers? And it's usually between 3 to 6 months. And what they do is they actually go gradually. So many of them actually will continue to build out their portfolio. They're going to continue to work on their project. And we have tons of conversation about how do you get started, right? How do you build your next project? Maybe you do it for free. Maybe you go in your neighborhood and you're going to help the local, pub or the local co-working space or whatever you can do to actually build your expertise, continue to build your expertise, build your brand, continue to build up your resume. And so they're going to start freelance. Many of them actually are starting freelance from that aspect. Some people actually will also move up in their own company. So they are not going to transition companies. They're just changing job in their company, where we have that quite a lot. We had someone who was in a entry level, IT position, not too excited about it, wanting to get into more exciting position in the same company, still in the same IT department, but better pay as a developer. And so they are just moving into that gradually. So this is where we are. We could tell you that, hey, actually 80% of our students have a job at the end of the bootcamp, but you understand what we mean. They are not necessarily transitioned into the new career just yet. We are just doing that progressively. And we ask them on an ongoing basis, how much have you actually changed? What's your timeline? It takes about 6 months to get really a good amount of data. So we're just starting to actually get that statistically significant information about that, and we'll be communicating on that pretty soon, actually. So I hope that helps understand where we stand in the whole job placement rate post-graduation space. Very different than if we had students who didn't have a job at all right after the bootcamp.
Okay, thanks, Ludo. You covered that very well. I see Kevin Meldau on YouTube is asking about CSS. And yes, we do cover less and SAS in the Bootstrap course. So while Bootstrap is the primary styling tool, as you did say, we do get into advanced CSS, and we encourage our students to experiment and play with CSS and continue to learn it even after that. And all your projects after that are going to involve CSS. So it's not just you're doing CSS for 2 weeks. No, it's from the beginning and the fundamentals to the end. Okay, and also I see Aiden Rosenthal, is 50s too late? If you're in your 50s and you're just starting to look at coding, you want to ask yourself, have I always been interested in tech? Was I the person to take apart my computer when I was a kid, or take apart my computer, or take apart the phone when I was a kid? Or am I just now getting into this, maybe for economic reasons or what have you? But if you love technical things and you're technically minded and you have an aptitude for computers, I don't see why it's too late. But you can definitely call and schedule an appointment to speak with the advisors and discuss your goals a little more, and definitely take the fundamentals course.
That's right. Yeah, great point. I'll actually complement what you just said about talking to an advisor. Joshua Campbell is asking, is it possible to speak to an admission person on the phone? So the way to do that is if you click interested on any of the bootcamp that we offer, you're going to be placed into our email list. And actually, you may have Zendra sending you email, or Luis, who is our other Nucamp advisor. And you'll find in those emails a link to schedule time with Zendra or Luis, depending on who you are assigned to. And so just use that link, schedule time, and Zendra or Luis will give you a call, and you'll be able to ask all your questions live over the phone. So that's very much the best way to get in touch with us. I'll just mention that there's no admission person, and that's part also of our social mission or culture. We are not gonna make a decision about your capacity, your ability to stay committed, your willingness and passion to change careers. We're not gonna say no to you. That's really a big point of something that really was part of the foundation of Nucamp. We don't want to close the door on anyone who has the interest, the passion of trying. So we don't admit you. You can register now with no admission whatsoever. You're going to make the decision. We're going to inform you, like through this webcast, to make the best informed decision. But we'll really treat you with respect and respect your decision to join. So there's no blocking. We won't say no to you. We welcome you. We'll give you all the tools to be successful. And hopefully that's also one of the reasons why you may want to join us.
Okay, and thank you. I got a question on YouTube again from Mila Moorhead. Can you give any examples of what big tech companies alumni get employment at? So Mila, you can check out our LinkedIn page, and click on alumni if you want to see where some of our students are working at. It's a sampling of alumni. But I would say if you're targeting large tech companies, you are kind of limiting yourself in terms of your job search, and you might be frustrating your job search. So if you're an entry level or a new grad, you want to look at uh, at not only like a Google or a Facebook or a Netflix, the FANG companies. They have extremely high bar for applying and getting through their initial filters even. You want to look at more companies like, something you would not even think of, like a supermarket chain, or like a school or a university system, or somewhere where you'll get a comparable salary, but you won't have the big, shiny, fancy, exotic name at first. And that's entry level. Entry level is not going to be like a Google, or um, you might have chance at apprenticeships like IBM or um, Microsoft. We don't rule those out, but I would say don't try not to think in terms of big tech company right after you graduate Nucamp.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Zandra. It's so true. There's a misperception or misconception out there that right after a coding bootcamp, you should actually spend time trying to get into the big tech. Not immediately, as you said. You want to give it some time, build your experience, and not be frustrated at first. So that's one of the things we want to do, is be very honest with you in terms of what are the prospects, and not necessarily, leverage the perception that, hey, you could get a job at Microsoft or Amazon or Facebook as a way to get you to sign up with Nucamp. We want to be very realistic with you. We're going to actually end this meeting in 4 minutes. Zandra, any other question that you think we should really tackle before we close out? I actually have one. I think I've seen one
Okay,
from
great.
Flavius. Sorry. And I remember seeing that one earlier as well. If I have to work on Saturdays, is there a way to catch up what was taught on Saturdays? And I think I remember seeing a similar question regarding that, in terms of what if I want to do everything asynchronous? What if I never really want to be bound by a specific time? So that's actually something we do not recommend, to not attend the Saturday workshop sessions. It's from a learning science standpoint, looking at how much potential you have to stay committed, to stay engaged, to stay on track as well. Those Saturday sessions are really a big part of the differentiation, the difference of value that we offer to you, compared to, let's say, maybe just doing a Udemy course, or maybe just doing a Coursera or edX. You being part of a classroom with classmates, being able to collaborate at the same time on the same problems, having a dedicated instructor that you can meet with on Saturday, that's extremely valuable. And that's why you'll pay the tuition at the end of the day. If you don't feel like you can attend the Saturday sessions for whatever reason, or that's not something that you want to do, then I'll just say you probably want to consider other approach to learning to code, something that is just online. And I mentioned those options, right? It's totally fair. Be worry about not staying committed, though. I see a lot of people going down that path, and 3 months later looking back and wondering, okay, what progress have I really made in my journey? So that's something to consider.
Great, thanks, Ludo. I see someone asked about if they register now and they're unable to attend, are they still accountable for the payment?
No, you're not. So you can actually postpone your start date. You can retake courses for a very small fee. That's part of the promise to you to be very flexible. We also are bound by the education, the state board of education, sorry, in terms of our refund policy. So our refund policy is in line with whatever the local state would expect. And typically, if you don't start the bootcamp, you're fully reimbursed minus a small registration fee. And then it's if you spend less than 10%, then you're going to be accountable for 10%. If you stayed less than 50% in the bootcamp, then you're going to be accountable for just less than 50%. Then if you've attended more than 50% of the bootcamp, then you're accountable for the full price of the tuition. So that's typically how it works. But as I said, you can postpone, you can reschedule, you can do all those things.
Okay, good. So Michael, hopefully that answered your question. And Aiden, I see you found the Nucamp LinkedIn. Great. Marianne, do you have courses in JavaScript? You have experience with HTML5 and CSS. That's super awesome. That's going to help you. You want to take the fundamentals course, register for that, and don't miss the early bird that's coming up, as we mentioned. It's going to give you basic JavaScript, and then the Bootstrap course is going to help polish up your JavaScript, and then the subsequent weeks of full stack and a front end and full stack are really going to hone your JavaScript further. And since you're experienced, you can ask your instructor to give you some supplemental material so that you're not bored the first 2 weeks of the fundamentals.
All right. Well, Zandra, it's 10 o'clock here. I know it's much earlier your time. I should have mentioned that Zandra is joining from Hawaii. And so it's kind of a early start for you. But as always, I really appreciate you joining us. I hope everyone on the call, YouTube or Facebook, also appreciated this conversation. We look forward to seeing you in our bootcamp. Let's put it out there, and you can actually then continue the conversation with myself and Zandra on our Slack channel. Everyone, thank you so much. Thank you, Zandra. Have a great day. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.